All right, today we're going to make our polyphonic cat monitor, but the first thing we're going to do is the Midi handling. So I'm going to start with a Midi in, and I'm going to make sure that I select which device I'm using. That was a command double click because I'm in an unlocked patcher. Normally we'd use a Midi parse, but today we're going to use an MPE parse object. And then we're going to take the last outlet, which is the MPE event message outlet. And this is going to go into our MC note allocator. Now, don't be confused with the MC voice allocator. In Macs, there's like two kinds of ways of dealing with polyphonic messages. There's voices where we know the durations ahead of time, like for granular synthesis, like a grain. There's sometimes when we don't know what the duration is ahead of time, and those are notes that have gate signals. So anytime you're dealing with gate signals, you're going to use notes. So in poly tilde, it's note messages, and MC, it's the same thing. So MC note allocator instead of voice allocator. So we're going to connect these two together where we have the MPE event message going into note allocator, and I'm going to give note allocator an argument of how many voices we're using. So that's going to be 4. We're going to make a 4-voice synthesizer. I want to do this Midi parsing because once you understand it in its kind of more simple state, then it'll be easy to make it bigger and expand it to your purposes. So note allocator gives us a couple outlets for note messages. The first one is note on, the second one is note off. So let's not forget to deal with both of that. But our goal here is to take these messages and bundle them up with the proper voice allocation. And it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. So let's unpack the pitch and velocity from the first outlet. And then we're going to use an MC target to do the voice assignments. So the last outlet on note allocator is the voice number. This is going to cycle through a value between 1 and 4 because we specified 4 voices. This goes into the second inlet of the MC target. Meanwhile, the message that we're actually formatting, in this case, the pitch or the integer, the Midi integer. So if we come over here and on our keyboard, you can see that this is corresponding to whatever pitch I'm playing on my keyboard. So then what we get are these messages that are coming out of the MC target, which is of the format set value, followed by the voice number, followed by the actual value that you're trying to transmit. And that's sufficient for our purposes right now. We're going to say send pitch. And then we need to deal with note off messages. And we first of all want to get the velocity from the note on messages, but we're going to divide that down with divide 127 with a decimal point to turn this Midi value 0 to 127 into a fractional value between 1 and between 0 and 1. And that'll be better for our amplitude scaling, or rather our scaling of our envelope that we're going to use. So this is our gate signal, or at least the note on messages. So we'll say send gate. And for note off messages, we're just going to say anytime we receive a note off message from this outlet, we're going to send the value of 0 to the gate. So I've got these 2 messages that we're sending down in there. And I just want to make sure that this is, so if we say receive gate and send this to the console, oops, I want to make sure this is just sending the right thing. So we should get, a floating point number between 0 and 1, but we haven't actually done the messages yet. So again, we're going to do this the same way that we did the MC target. So here's the message that we're sending that goes into that inlet, and then the voice goes into the second inlet, and then that is our resulting message. And okay, so we should get like set value messages, and that's it. That's, we could, there's a lot more that we could do here, but the basics of the Midi parsing for polyphonic messages isn't that much more complicated than monophonic with MC. You just have to like set the structure up. You might even want to make like a clipping of this. So like save a snippet, and that way whenever you make a polyphonic synth, you could kind of like start from there. Now let's make the synth itself. Let's make something really simple. So the oscillator is going to be a triangle. So I'll say MC tri tilde. That's our anti-alias oscillator. And this is going to be fed pitches from our already formatted messages. So we say receive pitch. And we're going to immediately convert these messages into signals. So we say mc.sig tilde. Now, because this is at the top of the signal chain, we need to specify how many channels it is. So I'm going to get out my @chans attribute and tell it that we want 4 channels. So if I did this correctly, then when I hover over here, we should see like what MIDI notes I'm playing polyphonically, and we do, and that's great. Now, next up, if we follow our chain down, we're going to follow this. We're not going to bother with a filter. It's just simple polyphonic synth. But we will add a VCA so we can gate those signals. But I'm not going to just take the gate signal out into this VCA. I am going to be a little nuanced about it and use an MC ADSR, even though it's going to be an organ type envelope. It'll at least give me a little bit of a slope on the beginning and the end so we don't get any clicks. So at the beginning, actually, I can add that attribute later. So 10 milliseconds attack, 0 milliseconds decay, a value of 1 for the sustain, and 300 milliseconds release. And because this is also at the top of our signal chain, we have to say @chans4. I should be able to take the gate messages, and that should be sufficient for this MCADSR. And then we can just plug that into our VCA. All right, then we should be pretty close to a synth here, but we need to mix these signals together. So I'll use an MC mix down. This takes our multiple voices and mix it down in one monophonic channel. I'm going to turn on auto gain on because it seems like the sensible, responsible thing to do. All right, and then let's send this to a DAC. And that should be sufficient. If I'm I feel reasonably confident I might have some polyphony happening here. So let's find out. Oh, I've forgotten something. But if you do get kind of unexpected behavior, this is where you can start debugging with your fingers. And one thing I can see already is that I haven't actually supplied a signal and note allocator that lets it know when notes are done. And a lot of students get confused about this, and I actually just forgot it now. And that is that the MC note allocator, even though it has access to the note on and note off gate messages, does not have any idea when the note's actually done, because the only thing that does that is the end of this VCA or the output of this envelope generator. It actually tells the note allocator when it's done, so we have to make that connection. So if I do that, there's also the pitches are all wrong, because even though I did this so I could actually look at the values, these are MIDI pitches, and I can't take MIDI pitches directly into this oscillator. I have to convert them into frequencies. So let's use an mc.mtof for that. Okay, so we've got some of those going. Seems like we've got our envelope generator is happening, but yeah, because we're using a monophonic VCA, so we need to turn this into a MC VCA. Oh yeah, now we've got it. Okay, so it's all. Oops, I don't know what I just did. It's all fun and good to be able to monitor, our signals. Actually, it's imperative that you're able to do this. And you could use a meter, like a mc.meter, but I mean, what would your friends say? You're more creative than that. So instead of using the MC meter, we're going to use jitter to do this. So jit.pwindow, we do need one of those, so let's add one of those. And we're going to import a JPEG, so I'll say import movie, in this case just a still image, and closed.jpg is the one that I'm looking for. This is going to go into a jit.matrix, and then once I've imported that, then I can send a bang into this, and then we get that. Okay, now then let's do the same thing with open. Still can't type. Okay, let's add a toggle to select both of these. Actually, this boy goes in here. Select 0 and 1. Okay, so if it's 0, then we get closed, and 1 is open. Whoopsies. All right, this is going to receive our velocities, so I want to say if it's greater than 0 with a decimal point, then you can have that toggle. All right, and let's load bang these imports, so those will work. Then I can take all of this. Let's actually connect this to a message box temporarily. So I can take all of this and then encapsulate it. And then we're going to receive our gate. Woo. Receive gate. Route the set value message. So we're left with just the voice message. Then we can route on the voice message 1, 2, 3, and 4 because we've got 4 voices. And then if I did this correctly, and I've got maybe 50% hit ratio these days. If I did this correctly, then when I connect these routes, we should have our polyphonic cat monitor. All right.